We do have Tess Ingram once again, and she's a UNICEF spokesperson. We were talking to her, but we got interrupted earlier. Excuse me. She's in al-Mawasi, and you were describing the apocalyptic scenes that you're witnessing where you are, and indeed relating a story of just how bad things are with women being forced to give birth on the side of a road.
That's right, Rashid. The internet was interrupted here as I was explaining that, and there was also sounds of a loud bombardment. So as we continue to say, nowhere in the Gaza Strip is safe, including this so-called humanitarian zone, al-Mawasi, which, as I described, is becoming more and more crowded by the day. We're seeing people set up on the shoulders of roads and in really desperate conditions. There was one mother I met, Seera, who described leaving Gaza City under evacuation orders. She was pregnant, she went into labour and in Sheikh Radwan and gave birth on the side of the road while trying to find help while evacuation orders were being issued for that area. She and her family, she has 5 children, moved to al-Nusra, where again we know evacuation orders followed them. And so they were forced south here to al-Mawasi, where I met them in a borrowed tent with very little supplies, nothing for the baby that she needs, like formula or like nappies, clothes, and for food and water for her other children. And she's just one of so many examples of families who've come here and now are struggling to access the basics that they need to survive.
Tess, it's meant to be a safe zone where al-Mawasi is, and further south from there, is it?
No, of course it isn't. And these claims have been completely disproven time and again over almost 2 years of this conflict. We've seen repeated strikes, including on tents in al-Mawasi. And less than 2 weeks ago, there were children waiting to fill up jerry cans at a water site not far from here in this so-called humanitarian zone who were killed. 8 children. The youngest was 3 years old. And so there's no way that we can claim that this is a safe place because of those continued strikes, but also because of the lack of basic essentials that people need. It's not safe for them to stay here without water, without food, without shelter.
But Tess, we were talking to another person related to the UN, I believe it was yesterday, that they were suggesting that things are getting a little bit better. There is more stuff coming through, more medical aid, perhaps a little bit more food aid as well. What are you seeing?
It's true that the volumes of aid have increased slightly, and we've seen the resumption of commercial trucks, which means that we're noticing more supplies available in the market. But it's important to note that these supplies are not sufficient for 2 million people, aid or commercial goods, so the volume needs to continue to increase dramatically. We need to see those aid and commercial goods reach people wherever they are in the Gaza Strip, including in Gaza City. And there's a problem, I think, with the types of commercial items that are coming in. We're still not seeing nutritious supplies. Most of the items I've seen in markets are processed goods, and they remain very expensive. So for most people, they're not able to get nutritious supplies for their children, and that's why we're seeing malnutrition continue to rise, or they're not able to access anything because the prices are just prohibitive.
Just quickly, Tess, here, what excuses do Israelis give for not allowing aid through?
We are continuing to push for life-saving aid for children to be allowed in. For example, we have incubators and other supplies that would help preterm babies in hospitals come into the Gaza Strip. And we see no good reason why those supplies can't be allowed in, but they continue to not be given permission to enter, often without explanation. We need to see more aid come in and more types of aid come into the Gaza Strip. And as I said, we need the conditions on the ground to make sure that that aid reaches families wherever they are. And we're incredibly concerned about this offensive in Gaza City escalating and cutting off our access to the hundreds of thousands of people that remain in that area.
Tess, thank you very much. Tess Ingram, there's a UNICEF spokesperson joining us from al-Mawasi.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.